Good afternoon, everybody.
I wanted to go ahead and get started. It's 1 o'clock here in Nashville, which is where I'm at. This is Kelly Roy. I am Vice President of Business Development at Century 2, and this is Tips for Managing a Sales Team, part of our monthly webinar series. And this particular webinar is going to be presented by one of our partners by the name of AJ Vaden, who is a senior partner at Southwestern Consulting. A little bit about ESG Century 2 or PSM. We are professional employer organizations, and we are divisions of 3 sister companies. We share resources and expertise to better serve our clients, but we do operate independently in various markets across the country. Our companies provide outsourced HR services to small businesses by offering them knowledge and that improve compliance, reduce cost, and increase their profitability. By outsourcing your HR functions, you can gain really an entire team of HR experience, specialized personnel at a fraction of the cost of investing in this internally. Our company is basically built on the idea of providing unparalleled service to our clients. We are an organization with a small company feel, but with big company customer service standards. We offer HR management, benefits administration, payroll services, workers' compensation, risk management, hiring and recruiting support, and much more. A little bit about Southwestern Consulting. Southwestern Consulting is a professional sales training division of the oldest direct sales company in the United States, the Southwestern Company. Their division is the fastest growing professional sales training company in America. They have more than 50 team members who have served in over 5,000 offices just like yours in the last 5 years. They put on large sales training conferences. They provide one-on-one sales and leadership coaching and deliver ongoing customized sales consulting. And a little bit kind of a personal testimonial, Southwestern is a great partner of ours, and we utilize them to help manage our sales teams internally, so we can say with confidence that they really know what they're talking about when it comes to sales. As far as agenda, what we're going to cover today very quickly, we want to focus on what really motivates salespeople. It can be very different than a traditional staff member. Once we know what motivates them, how do we motivate them individually? Keys to holding your sales team accountable. And then at the end, some quick tips on how to host a successful sales meeting. And before I turn this over to Amanda, I wanted to just kind of say a little bit about her. Amanda is the world's leading expert on reducing client turnover, helping businesses and salespeople grow sales by retaining and strengthening relationships with their existing clients. Amanda is one of the founding partners at Southwestern Consulting, which is now a multi-million-dollar sales consulting organization with more than 115 team members that have helped more than 7,000 sales teams in 35 countries. As an actual practitioner of professional selling, and not just a teacher, Amanda personally produces over $1 million in revenue every year. Her personal clients include companies like Bridgestone, DirecTV, Verizon Cellular Sales, and Budget Blinds, as well as Gigi's Cupcakes. She is the author of 2 popular online training courses on increasing revenues by increasing client retention and success strategies for salespeople. So now I am going to turn this presentation over to AJ, and we will get started.
Yes, and I am just making sure that we've got all of the appropriate documents up. So Kelly, you made me the presenter here. Just want to make sure that we are all on the
Hang on,
everyone should be able to see my screen.
That is my technical, hang on one second, I'm so sorry. Technical difficulties, here we go.
I just want to make sure I have both pulled up,
So
whatever works for you guys. All right, so we're going to talk about really 4 main topics today, and kind of the concept here is leadership and management. However, that kind of is a really broad scoping topic. And so we're going to break that down today into 4 little categories: what motivates salespeople, how to motivate them, keys to accountability. Once you motivate them, how do you keep them doing it? And then some tips for great meetings. And we really believe that meetings, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, it's a group meeting, it's a webinar like this, it's a phone call, those are some of the most important times for us to spend with our people. However, it's one of the fewer things that we actually spend time with. We're going to kind of just give you some tips for great meetings. But let's just start with the basics. What is a leader? And what is our job as a leader? There's a few things that we just kind of want to highlight when it comes to motivation and accountability. And one of the things here at Southwestern Consulting that we believe is that it's one of our jobs as a leader to inspire others. Right? We have to inspire people to want to reach goals. We have to inspire people to want to be held accountable. We have to inspire people to want to be motivated. Now, is it all of our job? Of course not. They have to be self-motivated. They have to be self-managed, self-accountable. But as a leader, one of the things that we can do is really work on providing the means for accountability, the means for motivation, the means for how to set goals that they can actually reach. So as we talk about how to motivate and what motivates salespeople, we're going to talk a little bit about in that and what can we do, but also taking a good hard look at what actually motivates people. Like, what should we be using to help motivate people? So if we kind of look at that, there's kind of several different things that we want to use as general concepts. The first thing that we want to do is just remember that a manager tells people what to do. A leader shows them. So as we go through today, just remember, this is not about you going back and saying, okay, well, this is what works and this is what we're doing. It's actually quite the opposite. It's like a manager manages things. A leader leads people. And so as we talk about this today, these are just general concepts. These are general ideas that you've got to take back and see how they apply to your teams and your business. One of the other concepts we're going to hit on today is you can't lead where you won't go, and you can't teach what you don't know. So if you're not accountable, other people accountable. If you're not self-motivated, we shouldn't expect our team to be. If you don't have clear goals as a leader, we shouldn't expect our people to. So we can do as much as we can do, but our people will probably do about half of that. In fact, one of the sayings that I was told very early on in my leadership career is that people will do twice of what you do wrong and about half of what you do right. So if you think about that and everything we talked today, it's a heck of a lot easier to follow someone's bad steps than it is their good steps. And so if we want our people to be motivated, to achieve high goals, to set goals, to be accountable, well, we have to show them how to do that by doing it ourselves. That is kind of the overview of what we're going to cover today. But as my job as a leader, one of the things that we can really talk about are how do we do these things, right? Are the leadership capacities that we have? What do we need to do to help our people grow? And then ultimately, how do they follow suit? How do they have the capacity to do those things? So hopefully everyone is able to follow along on the screen with me. But there's just a few things that we kind of want to highlight as what is our job as a leader? What is our core mission as a leader to motivate, inspire, and hold teams accountable? The first job we really have as a leader is to make sure our people feel appreciated. Right? Before anyone is ever going to be self-motivated, they have to know that they are appreciated by those around them. Before somebody wants to be held accountable, they have to know that they're appreciated. So that's our first job. Before we expect a whole lot out of them, we have to expect a whole lot of us. So our first job is to make sure that our people feel appreciated. Our second job is to make sure that they feel like they belong. It goes back to this. I'm going to hit this probably 10 times today, but if we want people to do more than what they're doing, then we have to know that they're appreciated and that they belong here, that we believe in them. The third job that we have as a leader is to make sure people know that they're important. It's to make sure that they know that they're valued here, that they're not just another number, that they're not just the next person coming in, and if they make it, great, and if they don't, that's okay too. We have to know they have to know who is important and that they are important to the organization. The more that we do that, the more they will let us hold them accountable. The more access we will have to pushing them and driving them because they know that we care. Some of you have probably heard that old adage before, is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Well, guess what? That's an old adage because it's true. So we've got to help make sure that happens. The next three things that we just want to highlight is that our next job is to help people develop a vision. And that goes directly into motivation. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a second. But without vision, there is nowhere to go. And if we think our people know how to create that, for the most part, we're severely mistaken. Most people have no idea how to create their career path. They are not thinking about 10 years from now or 5 years. They're not dreaming. That's our job, to help develop that vision. But then it's also our job to help develop the vision of our company and how they play a part in the vision of the company. And then we use that to create their vision with us. Because here's what I've learned over the years. If we don't create a vision with them, they will create a vision without us. And we are spending and investing time, money, and resources in developing these people. What we don't want to see happen is that we do all of that and we forgot the vision part, and then they get it somewhere else. So if you create it with them, they're more likely to stay with you. It's also our job to make sure that we help people develop goals. Again, it's kind of like vision. Most people, they don't set these on their own. Many times we assume quotas and goals. Quotas and goals are not the same thing. Quotas are what you have to do to keep your job. Goals are what you do to achieve success, whatever that may be. Personal goals, professional goals, money goals, revenue goals, savings goals, doesn't matter. But it's our job to help make sure that our goals and that we know what they are. Because when we talk about motivation and accountability, those two things can only be backed if we actually know people. Then we have to make sure they have skill sets, right? So we can do all this emotional preparation, we can do all the planning, all the pre-work, but we actually have to make sure our people are competent. They have to know how to do the job. So whether that's industry training, product training, service training, or sales skills training, they have to be competent enough to do the job. And at Southwestern Consulting, we really look at the overarching business of a salesperson in three different categories: skill sets, motivation, and systems. And they need all those things. They have to be self-motivated. They have to have the competencies to do the job successfully. And then they've got to have systems of maintaining it. But that all falls under one of our jobs as a leader, is to help people develop competencies in their job. Because if they don't have those, the goals that were once there fade away. The vision and inspiration that was there, it too fades away because they're not competent enough to do the job, so they get discouraged. Our jobs as a leader. So before we jump into, well, how do we motivate them and what motivates them and how do we hold them accountable, we've got to make sure that at the end of the day, our people know that we believe in them. And they know that we believe in them when we appreciate them, when we tell them that they're valuable, when we help recognize that what they do for the organization is important, when we help train them, when we help them set goals, when we set forth a vision that they're a part of. All those things, people know that you believe in them. And when people know that you believe in them, having difficult conversations isn't as difficult them as much, because at the end of the day, your people know that you're there for them. But here's the other thing. When it comes to just gut check accountability, they expect it. When somebody knows that you're for them, not against them, they're more open to accountability. They're more open to being challenged. And as business managers, owners, at the end of the day, we want our people doing more than what we expect. You know, if we're giving someone goals and quotas, those are the bare minimums. But we want them going above and beyond that because they want to, not because they're threatened to lose their job. Those things happen when we give them the tools to succeed, and then we give them the belief and the inspiration of knowing that, hey, this can actually happen. So if you kind of take those jobs as a leader, that's at the core what we want to do as a leader. Now there's all the administrative and technical stuff that comes along with it, but those are the core things for our people. And if you think about that in terms of motivation, there's two different components of motivation, right? There's a desire component, and then there's an expectation of success. Now, let's talk about how those are similar, but then also how they're different, right? Desire are things that we want, right? So that could be that new car, that could be that dream vacation to Bali, that could be a brand new outfit, it could be a house, it could be getting out of debt, but those are all desires, okay? Now, the expectation of success has everything to do with the belief of, are those things possible? So I'll give you a really quick example. So one of the things our team to do as soon as we hire them is we give them a questionnaire, and it's 20 questions, and it's got no real technical value to do. It is strictly a personal questionnaire for us to help us to get to know our new people. And this happens as soon as they're hired. And these 20 questions that are, you know, if you could do anything knowing you couldn't fail, what would you do? You know, what is your dream vacation? What's the number you have before you die? They are, who is someone that you admire and would like to emulate? But there are all these different questions just helping us to get to know the side of our people. And not too long ago, a young lady named Jenny was filling out this questionnaire, and she sent it to me, and there were some really fantastic things on there. And you know, some of her goals were a six-pack of abs. There was some high-end jewelry. There was a dream home, and there was some pictures of what she wanted her office to look like, and some dream vacations. But one of the things on her list was a vacation somewhere where they have those huts over the water. If you guys know what I'm talking about. I think that is most people's dream vacation. Over the water in the middle of nowhere, doing nothing but eating and having fun. And so I said, well, where? Like, where would you like to go? There's only a few places in the world that truly have those. And one of the places that she mentioned was the Maldives. And I said, well, you know, the Maldives is extraordinary. It's beautiful. I was like, well, when do you want to go? And she kind of laughs, and she was like, well, I mean, that's just, you know, that's just a, you know, that's like my dream vacation. It's, you know, if I could probably pick, it would be, and then she started back. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. You just said hut over the water in the Maldives. Why are you now backtracking and going, well, you know, that's like a dream vacation? And she said, well, I mean, that's just so far, and it's so expensive. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why can't you do that? With the right plan, the right savings, the right income, why couldn't you? And she paused and said, well, I don't guess there's any reason why I couldn't. And then it just dawned on me, as it is not abnormal or uncommon, it's actually quite common. It's most of us, when we think about dream anything, dream car, dream house, dream spouse, dream job, dream vacation, we don't think in terms of really getting it. We really do think of it as a dream. And that's a real problem. Because if we really have those desires, we don't actually believe and have the expectation that they're possible, why would we ever work for them? In fact, what ends up happening is this weird sense of longing and lacking instead of work and effort and intention. And that is why these two things really have to be connected by the leader. But let's get back to basics here. We cannot connect the dots if we do not know what those things are. If we do not know what big goals, big dreams our team is working towards, how can we ever connect those dots? And here's what happens, unfortunately, for a lot of companies. When we don't connect the dots and we don't know those desires and we don't give them the expectations of success to get there, they'll take the next highest paying job, right? And they won't let us know. If you've ever, anyone on this call, have had an experience where you got this from somebody that was like, what? I thought everything was fine. What is going on? It is a signal to you, you touch. It is not about your person. It is about you. Because if we don't know those signs, then we just haven't been looking hard enough. We don't know when someone is frustrated or demotivated. Those are our problems as managers. We're busy. As leaders and owners, have to be in touch with everyone, especially if you have a really large sales force. However, it is one of those intentional things that we've got to be talking to our people about. Motivation is simply the combination of desires or dreams, goals, whatever you want to call them, multiplied by the expectation that they can actually do it. That's it. It's a plan, right? It's goals plus a plan. That is motivation. It seems really simple as it is. Now, simple does not mean easy, but it is simple. Goal plus plan equals motivation. Set the goal, you create the plan, then comes accountability, which is why motivation and accountability really do go so much hand in hand. So there was a study that was done back in 2014, and it was done with about, I'm going to lowball it. I think it was a lot more than this, but it was about 1,200 participants. So for any national survey, any national study, 1,000 participants equals a national survey, and it was about 1,200, maybe 1,500 people. And what they wanted to figure out are what are the core drivers of motivation. At the end of the day, like what actually gets people to move? What makes them act? What makes them want to do more than necessary? And they came up with these 8 drivers that business owners, sales leaders need to be aware of. Because if we talk about that proverbial carrot that we dangle in front of our sales force, here's a lot of things that we don't pay attention to. What actually would drive our people? And we say, we're going to do a cash bonus. Well, cash doesn't motivate everybody. That's what they think a paycheck is for. The challenge about giving cash sometimes is they spend it on ordinary things and then they forget they even want it. That doesn't motivate everyone. In fact, it demotivates them, don't care, so they don't try. And as a leader, it's really frustrating because you're putting all this money and all this effort into all this work, and then nobody cares and even does it. But it's because it wasn't their motivator. Other things that we see happen all the time is we see trips or experiences, and motivates a lot of people, demotivates a lot of people. Because some people are going, I can't afford to take off. Are you going to give me paid time off? I can't just take off. Then my wife has to take off or my husband has to take off. Who's going to watch our kids? Are you going to pay for that? And again, what should have been this, wow, this is so cool, this is amazing, turns into, ugh, I can't believe that's what they're doing. That's just going to cost me money. Again, frustrating for a leader because we're just trying. We're trying to do whatever it takes. So here's my challenge to you. Before you set out any sort of incentive or contest or just any conversation around goals, actually take a step back and go, well, what does motivate my people? And here's really quickly, if you don't know the answer to that, just ask. It's as simple as taking these 8 things I'm about to go, putting them in a quick email, sending it to your salespeople and say, hey, if you could rank these, the top 3 things that motivate you, put them in order and send them back to me. We just want to keep an archive of stuff for future reference. It's, again, it's that simple. But you got to know, before you put time into putting together incentive plans or contests or extra things to motivate people, you have to know it actually motivates your people. So these are the 8 drivers of motivation of this study that we think are really worth kind of just vetting out. The first thing is a thing, right? So that could be any item, right? A piece of jewelry, it could be a watch, could be luggage, could be technology, but it's a thing. It's a prize, right? They want to win a thing. Now, the nice thing about that is it also becomes a memento of their achievement. It also becomes a reminder of you and the organization where they got it. So those are great things. Just remember, not everyone is motivated by things, but a thing could be anything that is a material substance that transfers from your hands to their hands. Item. It's not cash, it's an item. The second thing is an event. this could be a concert, it could be a vacation, it could be a airplane tickets, a hotel voucher, it could be a, sporting events, concerts, could be plays, but it's anything that's an experience. Like one of the quote-unquote events that our company, Southwestern Consulting, ran for our team a couple of years ago was a exotic car for the day. And so we ran a contest, and whoever won got 4 hours with a Lamborghini. And they got it in their hometown, or they could come to Nashville, and they got one of our senior leaders, and they got to go joyriding for the driver of a Lamborghini for a day. I will tell you, there was about 25% of our company that went buck wild trying to win this Lamborghini trip. But then there was about 75% of the company that was like, I could care less. And it's like, it's hard sometimes to find everybody. The most important thing is to know, where does the majority fall? What's worth promoting? What's worth investing in? But I will say that the beautiful thing about events is that they create memories for a lifetime. You've got the photos to prove it. You have the stories to share, but they create memories for a lifetime. So there's pros and cons to any of this, just like anything in life. The third thing is a place, right? So this would be a destination. So this would be, companies do this. We do an annual incentive trip. And it's probably the #1 thing our people fight to win every year. And we've done it 7 years in a row. And every single year we do a big video. Everyone gets a picture book. Everyone gets a welcome bag. We make a big deal about it. And they don't all have to be extreme locations. We've done places as low-key as Cabo, Mexico. We've done, the Bahamas, where we're going to Kenya next year. It doesn't have to be crazy expensive to make it incredibly valuable. I have a roofing client here in Nashville, Tennessee. They're doing a company incentive trip to Seaside, Florida, right? But they're getting a few beach houses. Bring your spouse, bring your kids. It's a family-oriented event. So it doesn't have to be out of the country even, but a place, and it's similar to an event because it creates memories for a lifetime. But a place, a vacation, destination is the third driver of motivation. The fourth is status. So this is promotion, right? How they want to be acknowledged and how they want to be rewarded is with status, is with prestige. So they want to go from where they are to the next position, to the next, to the next. They want to grow in the company. So do I have vertical growth opportunity in the company for my salespeople? And if you don't, and if that's what they want, they'll find it somewhere else. Now, not everyone deserves it. Not everyone is going to get there. But is there the opportunity for vertical growth opportunities? Or do you have a company in which people are salespeople and that's it? That's the only position we have for you. Or can they grow and develop into leadership, to other departments, other divisions? Just what is that growth opportunity? The fifth one is a trophy or award. These are for your achievers, your people that want everyone else to know they're #1. These are your hard A-type driver personalities. Many are motivated by this. Many care less. But do you have annual, quarterly, semi-annual, or even monthly awards for recognition? And it can be for operations as well as for sales. I know most of you have probably all been in a restaurant or hotel, anything hospitality, and they have employee of the month. Well, there's a reason that so many companies do that. People love to see their name and face in shining lights. They love to be called to the front of the room and front of the audience and be gifted an award for their contribution, for their hard work, for their effort. That is an extreme motivator for many people. Or award or plaque, but that public recognition that lasts more than just verbally. So who on your team is motivated by that recognition? The sixth thing is a personal gift, right? Now how this is different from a thing is something that anyone can win, right? So a thing is, we have something right now where people can win a Tumi briefcase. That's a thing. A gift is saying, no, I'm going to put something out there and I'm going to find something personal for you. It's not something that we're going to say, hey, this is what we're doing, go win it. It's no, hey, here's the contest, and then we're going to find a personalized gift for you. So it's something that you need, you want, something you've been wanting, not just the thing that we're promoting that maybe some people want, maybe some people don't. But the difference between a gift and a thing is a gift is personalized and customized to the individual. The seventh thing is they're motivated by a person. Perhaps it's you. Perhaps their core motivation is making you proud as their leader. Perhaps it's a spouse, a friend, a mentor, a coach, but they're motivated by making someone proud. And really the most important thing for them is to know that that person is proud of them, believes in them, supports them, and that's it. That's all they need. And that verbal recognition goes a long way, publicly and privately. And then the eighth thing is a legacy. Is that what motivates them more than anything is being part of something that will outlast them, of knowing that they were an instrumental part of creating something, developing something, changing something. And that is a key motivator for many people, of just knowing, hey, I'm not just doing this for a paycheck, I'm doing this to make a difference. And I need to know that it's making a difference. I want to be a part of changing the face of an industry or reviving a company. I want my name tied to this accomplishment, this change. And just as a really quick side note, the city of Nashville, for many of you who are listening who may not be familiar with Nashville, has experienced double-digit growth for the last 7 years in a row. And I went to a luncheon last week where one of the primary directors of Benson Convention Center, his name's Butch Spearden, did a talk about how did Nashville become Nashville. Because if you look back at 1998, Nashville was not Nashville today. It's quite different. But the economic growth, the stamp of Music City, the population growth, the pure attraction growth has been absolutely astronomical. And Butch is a part of that legacy. And he talked about how it has been one of the defining things for him in his career to look back and to be able to see growth and the change, the development, the progress of something that had his hands all over it. And you could just see him standing there talking that he was motivated by leaving a legacy. And for him, it's for an entire city. But for us, it could just be with our team, our colleagues, our leaders, our family. But these are the 8 things, the 8 drivers of motivation that really push people. And so your homework assignment is to find out what of these 8 things motivate your teams. And start with yourself. What actually motivates you? And then figure out, well, what are the things that motivate my people? And perhaps we've been going about it the wrong way. You've got to know what motivates people before you can actually get to motivating people. So as we look at that, how do we discover those drivers? Right? Now, if you think about, well, okay, now I know that they're probably somewhere in these 8 things, then we got to figure out, well, how do we discover and then how do we leverage that? So the first thing is just to ask. It's just to develop it. But then the next thing is to actually start paying attention. Pay attention to what people put up in their office, what people talk about, where they spend their time. And yeah, that takes doing a little research. It doesn't have to be you, the one who does it, but we have our marketing team. They go out and research. What do our people post on social media? Right? Who puts their plaques and trophies up on the wall, and who puts them in a box? Or who leaves them at corporate when they go back home, and then we have to ship them to them? So part of it is asking, but the second part is just awareness. Right? And now that you're thinking about it, your particular activation should kick in, right? And now that you're aware of it, you should see these things coming along. But these are the things that the more you talk about, the more you see people perform. The more you actually dangle these things in front of people, you'll see that they start to react to certain things over others. So the first step is just to ask, and then the second is just to watch. Watch and try all of them and see what is actually pushing your people to try harder, to do more. In addition to the verbal appreciation, the verbal acknowledgement, making sure people know that they're important, making sure they know that they're believed in. But then these are these physical and material things that we can do to look at tangible differences and how they actually do their job. So first thing is just knowing what those 8 drivers are, and then it's discovering what actually can we do to discover what those drivers are and how do we use them. So now let's assume that we've got some tangible drivers. We've got some keys to motivation. We're working on it, but now we got to keep that motivation going. That's all about accountability, right? Anything can get started, not everything can get finished. So if we think about accountability in a couple of different terms, the first thing that we want to talk about is that it is our job to hold people accountable, whether we like it or not. And I hear a lot of business owners mention, well, it's not my job. That's their job. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. And if not, I'm like, well, actually, that's ideal. That's not really the reality of it. It's, no, people need to be accountable. Many people have the best of intentions, but poor execution. And it is our job to hold people accountable. And here's the challenge. Many people don't know they need to be held accountable. So sometimes we have to do it in a soft demeanor. I remember being told this early on in my career, and they said, always hold people by the hand, not by the throat, right? When it comes to accountability, you've got to hold people by the hand. It has to be a partnership, not a dictatorship. And so hold them by the hand, not by the throat. And accountability is nothing but positive. We all need accountability in some area of our lives. Everyone does. We just actually, as leaders, it's our job to be holding people accountable in the sales arena. So if we think about, well, what are some effective ways that we can actually do that, we have to understand 3 things. That there's tasks that we have to hold people accountable to. Those are their activities, right? So the tasks and activities always will lead, but we've got to do all 3. So the tasks are those daily things that have to be done. Those could be administrative, those could be paperwork, proposals, but those are tasks, right? Those could be returning phone calls, those could be returning emails, that could be response time. Those are tasks. The activities, though, those are the drivers to success. So those would be your sales calls, your sales meetings, getting referrals. Those are those key activities. It's something that we would call at Southwestern Consulting an IPA, which is an income-producing activity. Which is a task. Tasks need to be done, but they're not always income-producing. An activity is an income-producing component of your job. And that's which leaders we need to realize there are very few income-producing activities for a salesperson. It's making sales calls. It's finding on, it's presenting to people, but there's very few tasks that are truly income producing. Ultimately, we could say it falls in 2 categories: finding people to talk to and then talking to people. As a salesperson, those are the key activities that will give us our desired results. Now, it is really important here, and the reason this goes in sequence, is that our job is to not just hold people accountable to results, because there are many results that we just cannot control. Results, when we focus on results, it creates pressure for people. And I have been a part of way too many sales meetings where the meeting started and it went, well, numbers are down, guys. And that's how it started. There was no recognition of the hard work, of the contribution and efforts. I have actually been a part of meetings before, unfortunately, where they said, hey, here's the deal. We're down 20%. If we stay down 20%, 20% of this room won't be here next year. And that is how they started their sales meeting. Now, if you go back to how to motivate people, that's not it. That is not how we start with motivating people or creating desire or creating belief or passion or vision. However, that doesn't mean it's not true. That probably is very, very true. How we couch it, though, can be very different. Because if people are if everything they do is tied to their results, their entire self-worth gets tied up, and did I get a yes or a no? which means all the hard work and their effort and intention and activities, they go to the wayside. And if those aren't recognized, promoted, and talked about, well, those start to fall to the wayside too. Because over time, if we're still working, not getting the results and not getting recognized for our effort, we stop trying. And what we do is we start looking for a different job. So the accountability is not always on the results, because the more we put pressure on the results, that the people start to back away, not move forward. What we want to do is put on controllables, right? Because what happens is that controllables can create consistency, and the controllables are the activities. And now we believe at Southwestern Consulting, and there's probably some that we've missed here, but we believe there's 3 things that are really controllable every day. First thing is your attitude. Right? You cannot control who says yes or who says no. Not controlling to you, cannot control what people are going to do, but we can control how we respond to those things. That is in our control. The second thing we can control are the number of hours we choose to work. Right? We can control that. And then the third thing is, what do we do in our activities? Outside of those 3 things, there's not a lot that we can control. We can influence things. There's not a lot of things we can control. So as a leader, especially of salespeople, what we want to do is be very hard on problems, the activities, but not as hard on the person, not hard on the character, the activities. But we want to focus on the ones that can actually be controlled. Your attitude, the hours you work, and the effort that goes in those hours. Were you being efficient? Were you being effective? Were you making sales calls versus catching up on emails? But controllables equal consistency, where results many times just end up with more pressure. And the more people feel pressure, really, many times, their performance decreases, not increases. So those are all things that we just need to consider as we're thinking about how to really hold people accountable. Because if we want to motivate people, really, accountability is a key part of that. So if you think about, well, what are the key activities my team needs to be held accountable for, there's just a couple of things we want to highlight here. Most people, you, already know what will get your team results. But do you talk about it? However, we make a big assumption there. You may know it, but does your team know it? And maybe the question is, well, I don't really know what those activities are, or how many of them they should be doing. And that is the first thing to understand with true accountability. It's, okay, if my quota is $1 million a year, then I need to know how many I need to add, how many meetings and proposals do I need to send to add that many clients, how many calls and appointments do I need to set to get that many meetings, and how many dials do I need to make, or how many visits do I need to do in order to get that many initial calls. So for me, it's a simple reverse engineering of whatever my goal is or whatever my quota is, backing it into the daily controllables, which is my outbound effort. Not who says yes, my outbound effort. So maybe you know, but maybe your team doesn't. Or perhaps we know, generally speaking, yeah, they need to make sales calls, but how many? Is it 10 a day? Is it 100 a day? Is it 10 a week? Those are the things that we need to know. The more specific we can make the activities, the easier it is to hold people accountable to them. Now, the second thing we put on here is personal and professional. They go hand in hand. When your life's in order at home, it's a heck of a lot easier for work to go. When your life is in order at work, it's easier for your home life to go better. But when home life is no good, it trickles into work. And when work life is no good, it creates stress at home. So those things, they're not divided. None of us have divided lives that way. Not today, not in this market. They all are connected. And so let's make sure that we have a full understanding of how those things are connected for our people, because they do impact each other, especially if you have an outside person who has lots of flexibility in their schedule. If you're going to trust somebody to pay them a base salary and bonus and commission, then you need to be investigating what's going on. Don't assume if you haven't expected. In other words, don't expect until you inspect. And our job as a leader, not our team's job, right? It's not our team's job. So if we think about motivation, and we think about accountability, and we assume that, well, you know, they're going to do what they say they're going to do. But the reality is sometimes they don't. So what do we do when people don't follow through and we are holding them accountable and we are doing those keys to motivation, but yet they're not doing it, regardless of what you try? So the first thing is you actually have to confront those things. Again, hard on the problem, not the person. Focus on the issue that happened, not the character of the person. But you do have to confront it. We cannot imagine a problem will go away and not be repeated. That is not reality. Many times, the first problem is just the first one you recognized. It's probably not the first time it happened. It's just the first time you recognized it. So confront quickly and confront hard the problem. Then find out what's stopping them from doing it. So just simply ask why. They say, hey, you committed to me that you were going to make 10 sales calls every day every day last week. Based on what we have here, it looks like you only made 10 for the whole week. Can you tell me what happened? Just that. Don't demean them. Don't make it about a character issue. Just say, hey, can you tell me what happened? The goal was 50, you made 10. Walk me through that. But we got to find out what's stopping them. Do they not have enough leads to call on? Were they having a bad emotional week? Did they not make the time? What happened? Do they not know what to say? Are they afraid? Do they have call reluctance? Maybe they thought they did. It's amazing how many times I'll bring someone's numbers to them and they're like, no, I definitely did 50 last week. And I'm like, well, actually. And it's like hearing it for the first time. There's a disillusionment of what people actually do and what they think they do. So sometimes it's real naivety. It's ignorance in the most innocent way. So confront hard, then address it. Actually find out what happened, what went wrong, why didn't this come through. The next thing is block out time to make sure that this actually happens moving forward. So schedule the time. In other words, create the plan. So once you have addressed the problem, you found out why the problem happened, now you need a plan for it. So help them block out the time to fix the problem, to fix the issue. Now, if there was any barriers, work to remove those. I believe one of my key jobs as a leader is to remove excuses, or you could call them barriers, but it's to remove excuses. They have too much on their plate, well, I'm going to rework their schedule with them. If they don't know what to say, I'm going to role play with them. If they need more accountability, I'm going to make time to make calls with them. Because my business only grows when my salespeople are out there selling. So remove the barriers, provide them training, give them more accountability, whatever it is, remove those barriers, help them get more leads. But remove the barriers so they can actually go out and accomplish what they need to. And then the last thing is to end to make sure they know, hey, at the end of the day, the reason I'm confronting this is because I believe in you. I know that you're capable of doing more than what you're doing. Damien, who is the current, I guess he's officially the COO of Bridgestone Retail Operations, and Damien's become a and one of the things that I will always remember about Damien is he said, hey, one of the things that's really hard for anyone is to take feedback, especially when you don't want to hear it. He said, but what I have learned over my career is that feedback is a gift. That feedback really is proving that they actually care about me. He said, because if I wasn't getting feedback, then I wouldn't know that anyone was trying to invest. He said, but for every piece of feedback that I get now, I filter it through the lens of knowing that that person wouldn't have given me feedback if they didn't actually care about my growth and my success. And he said, just changing the way I view feedback has changed the way I actually receive it and use it. And so again, it's just helping our team know the only reason we're making effort to hold you accountable is because we do care and we do believe you're capable of doing more. So it's to confront with love and to let them know hey, listen, this isn't about you, it's about you getting better. All pieces of really accountable so they don't think it's just micromanaging, but it's actual accountability is motivation. It is proof that we actually care. And one of the ways that we can do that, and the last thing we're going to highlight, is running effective meetings. It's just one of the biggest opportunities we have to be in front of our people and to show them that, hey, we do want to motivate you and we are working to inspire you, but we also want to hold you accountable. Those two things go hand in hand. So we just kind of put together a couple of reasons of why should we even have sales meetings. We don't have meetings just for the sake of having meetings. There are actual purposes of having meetings. So these are the 6 things that we believe that really be part of meetings. There are 6 reasons to have a meeting. The first thing is to inform people. Second thing is to create a plan with people. The third thing is to educate people. In other words, train them, reward them, recognize them, motivate them, inspire them, create vision with them, and then build teams. All of those have to be a part of every meeting? Of course not. But these are the purposes to actually have a meeting. But there are many companies and many sales teams that have a standing Monday meeting because they've always had a standing Monday meeting. There's no plan, there's no agenda, there's no accountability, there's no follow-up. And share some updates and leave. And people don't want to come. And so they text and they email and they're late and they leave early. That's a lot of valuable time. If you were to think about the hourly rate of pay that you pay your salespeople, yourself, your leaders, the people not meeting, I bet that's a very expensive hour in your week. So if we're going to have that much time allocated to 1 hour in one room of your company, let's make sure that we have a plan, an agenda, and there's a purpose for your meetings. So we just wanted to give you a quick checklist of 3 things that we can do to prepare for meetings. So we're going to go through things that we can do before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting, right? So before the meeting, these are very simple, basic principles, but in the hustle, busy day of most of our lives, they just don't happen. As much as we'd like them to, they don't. But before the meeting is set an agenda in advance. Show people that you're prepared for the meeting by actually having one. Promote the meeting. Remind people. One of my favorite quotes is a great leader is a great promoter, which means we've got to promote. We have to remind and reinforce and encourage. Start the meeting with music. You know, the vibe, the atmosphere is 50% of the battle. And if you start with fun music and people are coming in, it creates a more social environment. It's one of those things that's amazing where food, drink, snacks, it actually creates a welcoming experience. Simple but important. Start on time. There's so many companies where the meeting starts at quote-unquote 9, but really it's 9:10, 9:15. And if we don't start on time, why would anyone be on time? Start on time and end on time. Use visual aids. Don't just stand there and talk at your people. Actually engage them. So use visual aids. Involve others for announcements and updates. As much as probably you don't want to be talking the whole time, probably your team doesn't want to hear the same person talking all the time. And it also takes a lot of the planning and work off of you. And so have other people be in charge of components of your meeting to switch up the personality, switch up the engagement, but then to give other people the opportunity of ownership, of responsibility. That kind of goes back to, is one of your key things being recognized, acknowledged, leaving a legacy. There's little things to do, just to have people have a part of the meetings that would make them feel that way. And then bring in guest speakers, switch things up, have someone from the outside come in, bring in have somebody come in and do a motivational thing, have somebody come in and do some industry training, have someone come in just for personal development, but bring things in to switch things up. Those are all things that we can do before the meeting, right? Those are just helping engage. Now, during the meeting, a couple of other things. Start with good news. Start with highlights. Don't start with we're down 20%, so 20% may not be here next year. Think you may be down 20%, just don't start the meeting that way. Start with effort, contributions, activities, but start with good news, highlights, and awards. Regardless of how bad things are, there's always something happening too. So let's just remember to focus on the good as well as the tough times. Review the agenda. you're going to make one, actually stick to that thing. The agenda and meeting goals. Make sure you've got group discussion and feedback. The moment that you are not engaging your people, they mentally are what lunch or they're trying to sneak a text, but when they're engaged, they don't do that. So keep it highly interactive, lots of questions. That's why visual aids are so helpful. Have someone responsible of keeping minutes of your meeting so that recaps are sent out. And so for those of them who missed it or those who just need those visual reminders for accountability, but have someone keep minutes. And then at the end, constantly be promoting and reminding people about the next meeting. What do we need to do after the meeting in preparation for the next meeting? So distribute the minutes within 24 hours of the meeting's end. There is something to say about urgency that's sending those minutes out that will really make a difference for your team. Ask for meeting feedback and topic requests. Actually request feedback. Say, we want to know how this is going. What do you want more of? What do you want less of? What do you want our meetings to be about? The more they contribute, the more they continue reminding and promoting the next meeting all the time. At least a couple of reminders a week. This should be something people look forward to. Not going, oh, I have to go because, you know, I'll get in trouble. I was like, I know I want to go. I want to see my team. I want to see my leadership. I want to learn about what's going. Hey, I have something to share. We want people coming with ideas, not coming because they have to. And then lastly, just keep an ongoing list of unfinished items and open discussion topics. Not every idea is going to happen today, and not every idea is going to happen ever. But there are many things that could happen next year. Don't want to forget about them. So keep a running list of good ideas that we're going to revisit, of unfinished action items that we couldn't come to a decision on, things that are still open for discussion, but keep a running list that people have access to and visibility to so they can go back and they can check on those things. Again, if motivate your team is being a part of something bigger than them, and that vision piece, this is extraordinary for them. That public recognition can happen here, awards can happen here. Much of the things that motivate your team can actually happen during your meetings if you actually use your meetings for accountability and motivation. It's one of the key strategic opportunities we have to motivate and to hold accountable if we actually use them. So to learn more about Southwestern Consulting and what we do, here's my direct email. Feel free to contact me directly if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are you just looking for good resources. Happy to help. You can also visit our website at southwesternconsulting.com, and there's plenty of information there as well. So we thank you for your time and attention, and I will turn it back over to Ms. Kelly to wrap things up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, AJ, for your time today, and great information. Definitely got some things that I'm going to incorporate into our sales team. And just as a quick reminder, the next webinar is on November 10th, and it will be about health savings accounts and flexible spending accounts. So the benefit folks would really take advantage of this and could probably learn a great deal going into the new year as benefits are renewing for most of our clients. So again, thank you so much for your time, and hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thanks so much.